Welcome to Seattle College's international programs and our show Conversations With, where we talk to people that help you understand how you too can be an international student in the United States and why Seattle Colleges should be your first choice. We'll talk to students and staff and agents and government folks, all kinds of people about what you can expect when you're getting ready to apply or travel here, what you'll experience while you're with us, and how it can all lead to an amazing life. Don't forget to check out the Seattle College's International Programs website at intl.seattlecolleges.edu, where you can find a treasure trove of information about the school, the programs here, and best of all, fill out and submit your application. Again, that's intl.seattlecolleges.edu. Hey everybody, welcome back to Seattle College's Conversations With. We're here at Seattle Central College at our central location, and it's been a long time. So I'm super happy that Caitlin's agreed to come on the show. She is an
international student advisor.
Probably, I would argue, one of the most important people in your life when you get here.
Yeah.
Kind of
We're very, we're one of your best resources when you get here.
Right.
I'd say.
Yeah, you talk to us, the recruiters, when you're thinking about coming, and then, you talk to admissions when you're in the process of applying, but then once you're here,
you're all ours.
The advisors. How many advisors are there total these days?
At all the campuses, 5.
Yeah, 5. Okay.
At Central, we have 2 full-time and 2 kind of part-time.
Part-time, yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. And you're one of the full-timers.
Yes.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so marketing and advising kind of back-to-back here, so we talk a lot and help each other out. They help me more a lot because I'm just ridiculous. You guys are super helpful. A lot of great information here, so please stick around and listen to all of it.
Yeah, got a lot to share.
We got a lot to share. So let's tell everybody where you're from originally.
So I'm originally from Minnesota. Really, really small town. Just north of the Twin Cities, kind of right on the Wisconsin border.
Mm-hmm. On a lake?
On a lake.
Yes.
On a lake. The land of 10,000 lakes.
Yeah.
I grew up, it's, where I'm from, it's very lake country, I would say. It's a bunch of small towns, tons of lakes, tons of country, very kind of classic Midwest.
Right. Were you a canoe? Did you canoe a lot?
More kayak.
More kayak,
yeah. Canoeing is harder, I think, because you have to do it with someone. So unless you are able to work with them consistently and otherwise you start going in circles. But
true. We
would do kayak and canoe trips down the rivers and stuff because we have a big river that leads into the Mississippi.
Oh, okay. So did you grow up around a lot of international students?
No.
Not even in your no exchange students?
We had a few exchange students. I actually had an exchange student live with us my senior year. I convinced yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. I'm the youngest, so my 2 siblings had already gone off to school, and I had spent 1 year alone with my parents. And I was like, no, there's too much attention. This is too much. I need someone else in this house with me. And I had always kind of loved the idea of having someone from a different country come and stay.
Yeah.
So we had a boy. His name was James. He's from New Zealand.
Shout out to James.
He came and lived with us my senior year, and that was kind of the start of the international student journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you think about becoming an exchange student right after that, or?
I knew I wanted to study abroad in college.
Oh, okay.
I was a senior when he came, so it was a little too late for me to do it as a high school student.
Right.
And I don't know if my parents really would have been for that.
Oh.
They let me do some travel. My first big international trip without my parents was when I was 15. I did one of those education summer programs in Italy and Greece.
What? That's awesome.
Yeah, that was the start, the very, very start. 15 years old. And
was it the big cities, Rome, Athens?
it was Rome, Athens. I cannot remember the port that we docked at. But we did a couple smaller coastal towns in Greece, which was really fun and makes me really mad that I can't remember the names.
So wait a minute, you say dock, so you're on a boat this whole time?
No, so we flew into Italy. We went mostly around Rome. We went to Florence as well. And then we took a ferry from Italy to Greece.
Oh.
Yeah, just one of those overnight ones.
That's cool. And was it a good experience? I mean, did you have calm seas?
Yeah, I mean, it was really calm. It was a very different experience than what I was used to. I've never had been on a overnight ferry or anything like that. So I'd say it kind of felt a little bit like a cruise ship, like a dated cruise ship.
Okay.
Because it was big. There were places you could gather and hang out. It was a huge boat. But I spent most of it in my room since it was overnight. And I was exhausted, jet-lagged. And then we got to Greece, and I absolutely loved it. Had a ton of fun. And from that point on, I was like, all right, I want to travel. I want to do this more. This was really fun. I'm going to go again in college. And we did. We went in college, and then for a semester. And then after college, we went off again.
Right. So let's talk about your college experience. You did not start at a community college. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
I started and stayed at the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Big school?
Big school, about 40,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really big school, really fun school.
Yeah.
It was an alma mater for most of my family. My sister went there. My parents met there. Cousin was there. Aunt was there. So,
but you're from Minnesota, so why not the University of Minnesota versus University of Wisconsin?
I'm a little biased. I think University of Wisconsin's a lot better than University of Minnesota, or we call it the U of M.
Yeah.
Or Wisconsin, we call UW as well.
Right. Yeah.
Or UW. So coming here was really confusing.
Yes,
having everyone call University of Washington UW. I was like, wait, we're not talking about the same place. Okay. But I wasn't a huge fan of the U of M campus because, one, I wanted to be a little bit further away from home. I wanted to branch out a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the feel of the U of M campus as much. It didn't mix too well with what I was wanting. It's very urban, very city. And I wanted a campus that felt a little bit more campus-esque. Which Madison kind of gave me the best of both. You knew when you were on campus. It's very centralized, but it was still in a city, so you could just walk off and be in the city at the same time.
Little known fact, Earth Day from University of Wisconsin, am I right? Started at University of Wisconsin?
I have no idea.
I think so.
I wouldn't be shocked. They're very big on their environmental sciences and stuff there.
Cool. And then you took time between your undergrad and your grad work? Did you do...
Yeah. So once I graduated with a degree in history and classics. And wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. We were kind of going back and forth. Working kind of study abroad, international services was always kind of an idea. But I knew I wanted to travel more. I knew I wasn't ready to just settle into a career. So I decided to teach abroad in Thailand.
Oh, yeah.
And I was there for about 3 years. Started in the north in a city called Korat.
Oh.
It is very, very big. I believe it's the second or third largest city. Huge. And it's in the northeast. It's called in a province called Nakhon Ratchasima, which borders Cambodia.
Oh, okay. So it's still fairly south. I was thinking Laos, but
it is kind of like, because Thailand has like the chunk and then the peninsula comes down. It's like this part of the chunk.
Gotcha.
It's a very, very big province, and it's all like jungle, and it's beautiful for hiking. I only stayed there for about one semester of the school. I taught at a high school, a secondary school, of all boys.
Oh.
For for a 22-year-old at the time, it was it was shock. It was a shock. We had some real severe culture shock happen for sure.
Okay.
And the city was just a little bit too big for me, I think. So I went with a agency, I guess you could kind of call them. And I quit the agency after that. And I had a couple friends who were also in the agency who had quit, but they liked where they were, so they were in the south, and so I moved down south to Nakhon Tamarat. And that's where I stay.
Cool. Well, Thailand, very different than Minnesota. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
A lot hotter. Yeah.
A lot hotter. A lot, weirdly, not terribly more humid. Minnesota, crazy enough, does get really hot and humid in the summertime. Can be upper 90s consistently. And air thick enough you can swim.
So maybe not too different than Thailand.
Yeah, it felt like mid-July every single day.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, I mean, the food was, the culture, the way of life, so different, but so amazing. I miss it every day.
Really? Okay. But you ended up going to Greece, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I decided to go back to grad school. So I left Thailand, came back to the U.S. for a little bit, see family, and then a couple months after that, we moved to Athens, Greece, and I got my master's in archaeology.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
With the thought of ever becoming an architect, or was it more...
Well, my goal was, so I have always...
archaeology,
yeah.
not architecture.
I mean, an architect of the past,
yeah.
right?
Archaeologist. Sorry, not architect.
I had the desire to go on to my PhD with the same program.
Right.
And then become a professor and do research and kind of work on preservation. My area of specialty is iconography, so I study imagery, and I tell you what it means. I tell you how it reflects culture, tell you what kind of stories it's supposed to be telling you, on pots specifically.
Right. When I was in Crete, I saw a lot of that kind of stuff in the museums, especially on the pottery, and it was cool.
Yeah.
Should have taken you with me. That would have been great.
Just take a picture like I told you stories.
I probably have pictures on here, so. Well, that's really cool. Interesting pathway, so something for you guys to think about.
Yeah, that's one thing I always say is, your education doesn't need to be limited to one place or even two places. You can go anywhere you want. Even as an international student in the U.S., you can still study abroad. You can still go for a semester or a quarter to another school, and I highly encourage it. It's not something that is describable unless you've kind of done it. I think it's indescribable, the feelings and memories and lessons it teaches you. And I think you come back a very different person than when you left, in the best way possible.
I agree. Well, one of the countries we didn't mention there on your bio was studying in Ireland for a short time, too.
Yeah, that was my study abroad in college.
Oh, that was your study abroad, okay.
Yeah, I studied at the University of Ireland, Galway. So Galway is a small city, large town on the western side of Ireland.
Okay.
And I chose Galway over Dublin because Galway is more focused on Irish culture still. It's really, really strong there. All the signs are in Irish, not Gaelic Irish. It's different.
I did not know the difference,
Yeah, Irish people will get mad if you say their Irish is Gaelic.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah. And I absolutely loved Galway. It's right on the sea. It's very kind of port-esque, and it's still on like its medieval footprint. So you are walking down these cobbled streets. It feels very Irish, very European, very different from the U.S. in the best way. And yeah, so I did that for one semester. Absolutely loved it.
I'll bet.
It was really fun.
Was it hard to when I was in London, I asked somebody a question and didn't understand a word they said. I just walked away and tried to figure it out on my own. Did you have that same problem in Ireland? I can imagine this accents are strong.
Yeah. At first, it was a little difficult. The Irish people are really nice. Actually, they are really friendly, really nice, and I never had an issue with meeting someone and asking them to repeat themselves or saying, "I'm so sorry."
I'm so sorry.
I do not understand. And my favorite thing is they're really nice, but then they'll tease you and they'll make fun of you for it. So you kind of feel kind of welcome there when they start making fun of you.
That's special.
Yeah. But I never had too big of an issue with the Irish accent. With Irish accent, they speak very clearly. And it's not terribly different. Their cadence and the way they speak, it wasn't terribly different from where I grew up.
Oh, that's great.
So it was pretty easy to get there and
adjust.
Yeah, and I mean, the first thing I did there was go to immigration, and the immigration officer looked at me when I said Minnesota. I went, "Haha, Vikings," and I went, "All right, we're welcomed here."
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's great. Such a great international background. She's been to, 20 countries, something like that. It's just a lot of international background. But we're really here to talk to you about advising because we want to help you guys understand how to use them in the most efficient way possible because their time is precious. There's a lot of people that want to talk to you guys. So I guess some of the first questions I have is what's the difference between the front desk staff, who are kind of the first people they meet, and what you guys do? Like, when should they just really focus on talking to the front desk people, and when should they really focus on talking to you?
That's a very good question. So the biggest difference, I would say, is anything immigration related, you need to speak with the advisor.
Right.
Our front desk staff, they are not DSOs. Our front desk manager is, but they are not trained in the same way. They do not have the same information or access to information that we have.
Gotcha.
So if you have any questions on anything immigration, even if it's really small.
It's visa, I-20.
Yeah. Traveling.
Anything,
transfer, anything that we would have to talk about your immigration record. Come see us.
Right.
Drop in, appointment, talk, at least communicate with an advisor.
Right.
Those questions.
For the listeners that may not be here yet, they may not know what a DSO is. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so DSO, it stands for Designated School Official, and we are the people that are basically your immigration advisors. We are the ones that are in charge of anything to do with your immigration records, documents. We are the ones to talk to.
I agree. Don't talk to your recruiter. Because I get visa questions all the time, and I usually have to go ask them the answer. So the DSOs you have to take a test. You train for it.
We have training. It's special training that you have to get. And you are certified. You are put onto very specific documents with the government. So if you're not a DSO, you are not a DSO.
Right. Don't talk to those front desk people because they're not qualified.
No, they are great for, just basic academic questions, campus questions, student life questions.
Right.
We really, our front desk staff, they are student workers, so they are fellow students, and most of them are international students as well. So they're a great source to talk to if you have questions just about life here, about just things on campus, some class ideas even.
Sure.
And also very minimal, they're there to hand you, if you need a form, if you need to turn something in, you can just talk to them.
Sure.
But I'd say anything kind of immigration aside, anything that's kind of below surface level, I would wait to talk to an advisor. Anything that kind of needs planning, anything like that, we talk to an advisor.
So because they're students, though, at the front desk, they've been through the process of registering for classes and picking professors and those kinds of things. How much would you recommend they talk to those guys about getting help with that? Or do you say, no, really talk to your advisor?
I think if there's any form of academic planning, talk to the advisor. They're going to know more than our students do. The advisors here in the international programs, they're a little bit special from other advisors at other universities because we also do all the academic planning, and we don't specialize in just one department. So like domestic advising, which as international students don't ever go to domestic advising, they have advisors who specialize in certain departments. We specialize in all of them.
Gotcha.
So we have the ins of each program, how you should plan for it, what you need to think about, and planning for their future.
Right.
Where our students at the front, they're great if you just have a general question about a class. Or if you need help physically registering, like if you don't understand CTC Link or how to register for a self-paced class, they are great for that source. Because we have computers up front and they can help walk you through that.
Right. It seems like a lot of our new students, the ones that are just arriving, they're having the most problems or difficulties with that piece of it. Yeah,
so when it's their first quarter, they just finished orientation and everything. They shouldn't have to be enrolling in classes. The advisors will do that. If it's your very first quarter and you've done everything you were asked to do, because we will email you and say, hey, fill out this form, fill out this form. And as long as you do that, we get the information and we can go ahead, we can enroll you for your first quarter.
No matter what their program.
No matter their program.
They could be a history major, or they could be a culinary science, vocational technical students.
Yeah, so there are some programs that do require a separate application to get into, like graphic design, the visual media, culinary.
Right.
The more the career training programs require usually an additional step in admissions.
Gotcha.
And when you're in those very specialized programs, those programs actually start enrolling you, usually.
Gotcha.
But you have to get into them first.
So they apply to Seattle colleges, they get accepted to Seattle colleges, they start a conversation with you guys before they even arrive in the States.
Yeah, I'd say if they're really interested in one of our career training programs, they should definitely start reaching out and asking us about what are the steps I need to take so that when they get here, we can kind of have them ready and they have the correct information so they don't end up wasting a lot of quarters.
Sure. So I work here and I get confused. So there's a little bit of overlap here because with recruiters, outreach, and marketing, they usually come to us and they're asking us about career programs and we're like trying to walk them through that kind of stuff. But then there's kind of a handoff area, kind of a gray area, which kind of seems like more your territory or the actual program itself.
Yeah, I would say, when you have potential students interested in here and they express interest in certain programs that we already know require an additional kind of admittance, I would say that would be the time to either reach out to us so that we can guide them to the correct resource, or say graphic design, for example. There is an advisor who specializes in that. That is what he does. He's kind of the program coordinator, I believe. And I would reach out to him probably and say, hey, I have a student who's interested. What are the steps? Or I would put the student in contact with him because they have to upload like a lot of extra documents.
Sure.
So that would be kind of that step. As advisors, we usually have the rule of thumb is first day of the quarter, that's when our job starts, kind of thing with students.
Okay.
But for the very new students, we help them with their first quarter of enrollment, but then we're also there for questions about that first quarter too.
Right.
Because sometimes we have students who come in who are prerequisite study, who are...
Like nursing, for example.
Yeah, like pre-nursing, pre-engineering, or they're like prepping for a master's program. And we don't really know what they need to take because they're not in a set program. And we reach out. We say, hey, I see you're enrolling as this. Please let me know what classes you need. I'll help you get enrolled or I'll give you the steps. And we try to get those out as soon as we get our list of who's going to be a new student, and we do ask that you respond.
Please
Please
check
respond.
Your email.
Please check your emails.
Super important, actually.
That is actually really important. I will have a comment on that later.
Yeah. Well, you can throw it out now if you want.
Yeah, emails are really, really important. It's how we communicate with you from the start, from the application process. So whatever email you're using, you need to make sure that it's one that you have access to, that you see consistently.
Right.
When you often use third-party emails,
like an agent or a parent or something like that.
just one that you don't necessarily have the access to, you're going to miss a lot of really vital information.
Yes.
So when after you applied, once you get in, send us your email, the one that you use consistently, your personal email, so that you get the information. Not anybody else.
Right.
Because we don't call, we don't run to you in person if we see you in the hallway.
Right.
We email.
They're not going to send you a WhatsApp or a WeChat or anything like that. So email.
Email.
That seems to be a real challenge for us too. Sometimes they don't respond to email, and got to get creative, I guess. You guys, though, work just with the email, so be checking it. You were saying that you may not know. Would that be like you may not know what courses? So would that be like an IP short-term certificate? Are those kinds of things that?
Yeah. So some of the programs. Prerequisite, for example. IP short-term certificates, and then even sometimes if they say they're coming in for another program and they can't start it right away, we might ask, all right, what do you want to take in the meantime?
Okay.
And usually most programs are all going to require English 101.
For sure. We
require ISD 200. That's our orientation class. So I will almost always enroll students in those two classes first, and then the third is kind of their choice. Either they've put it on the form provided, so I can just go ahead and enroll them, or I'll reach out and say, hey, what do you want to take for your third class? Let me know as soon as possible, because classes fill really quickly. That is the big thing. If you check your email and you see an email from us, respond quickly.
Yes.
Because we cannot guarantee those classes will still be open.
For sure. I've talked to many. I don't do what you do, but what I do is walk through the IP lobby pretty regularly, and students grab me because they know me, and some of them are in a panic because it's like, oh, I can't get into the class I want or whatever. How can they avoid that? Like, what's the secret for a lot of these students?
Being proactive.
Thank you. Yes.
So the biggest thing is, education is the student's responsibility. Right, it's your job as a student. It's your job. So as jobs are, you need to be aware of all the responsibilities of that job. And one of those responsibilities is knowing when dates are. And it's very easy to find. We have an academic calendar. It's on the website. They update it pretty well. And we will also, you can always send us an email each quarter and be like, hey, when does enrollment open? And we'll gladly let you know, or that's something you can ask the front desk.
Right.
And then when enrollment opens, for spring quarter, it's February 18th. But when it opens, you can go ahead and enroll. And on a student's CTC link, they should have a date of when they can start their enrollment put into their CTC link. Gotcha. So to avoid, not being able to get into classes, to avoid being stuck with classes you don't want or need, enroll as soon as you can once you get that date. Right. The sooner the better. Classes fill up really fast, and we as advisors, we're not miracle workers.
Right, exactly.
We will help you as much as we can of trying to find another class, an alternative, getting you in contact with the professor. Right. But we can't put you into something that's closed or full. No matter how much we might want to help you and do that, that is not in our power. So
sure.
the best advice I can give is, being aware of dates, checking the academic calendar, and just being proactive, not putting it off, because it's not going to be there if you keep putting it off.
Right. One thing I've talked to advisors about in the past is this whole concept of self-advocacy, about taking care of yourself. And this may be kind of a cultural thing to the United States. When you come to college, it's your job, like you said. So if you're not used to that approach, there may be some adjustment for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we get that. We 100% understand that it is a whole new ball game that our students are in. They are not only here often starting college,
right, which is hard enough.
But they're also in a whole new country. They're going through maybe some culture shock, or maybe they're alone. They left their family for the first time. We get that.
Yeah.
And a lot
second
of us second language,
yeah.
And almost all the advisors. We have a couple who were international students here when they were in college, and we have others who were international students in other countries. So we can relate to that feeling, at least to a point. And as we say in advising, what we really try to push forward is that we are humans who are there to help you. We are not your parents or your boss or anything like that. We're not scary. We promise we're not scary. Our job is to help, and it's to support. It's not to lead. It's not to tell you what to do. It's there to help you achieve what you want.
Right.
And we are a place that, our titles say academic and immigration, but we really encourage students, if they're struggling with anything personal as well, to come and talk to us. We have resources. We're there to listen. There's no judgment in our office, and everything you tell us is confidential.
That's for sure. Yeah.
So if you ever need help with anything, have any questions whatsoever, we really encourage you to come talk to us.
Right.
We want to help you. We are there to help you. And one of the biggest things I can say too is a lot of students will, when they get here, they make connections, they make friends. And a lot of times they make friends with international students who have already been here.
Sure.
And they'll hear things. And one of my biggest pieces of advice is don't listen to your friends. Don't listen to them.
I think that's really good advice, actually.
Yes. Because, your friends have the best intentions. They do want to help you, but, they often have a misunderstanding, or there's misinterpretation, or policies and laws may have changed since the last time they spoke to an advisor.
Right.
And also, situations are different. Your situation is not going to be the exact same as your friend.
For sure.
So if you ever need help with truly anything, we are there to help you, and we really encourage you to come by and talk to us.
Right. No, that's really, really great information. Really good. Be your own person, do your own thing, do your own research, make your own decisions, and then reach out for help. I mean, it's always nice to have friends, for sure. But
it's very nice to have friends. But anytime you have questions, academic, immigration-wise, or just life, like I love when students come in and want to talk about life and Seattle and what are you doing. I think those are some of my favorite conversations.
Right. But what I do know is that the first week or two of class, usually our lobby is pretty full. We have a lot of students that are in there, and they're all waiting. And sometimes they're like, "Hey, I really need to see an advisor," and you guys are just slammed. What kind of advice can we give students to say, "Hey, look, if you don't want to be sitting there as a part of that group that first couple weeks, they can do what you just said, where they're registering as soon as possible." What other things can they do to ensure that they're not one of those people that are kind of stuck in there?
Yeah, so when we're in that first couple of weeks where we have a ton of students coming in saying, I need help with enrollment, I'm not enrolled. First off is just trying to be proactive, trying to be fully enrolled, and then also communicating with us. Email, we are very responsive to email.
Oh, good.
I personally hate having a ton of emails in my inbox, so I am constantly answering my emails.
Sure.
But yeah, I would say the biggest advice I can have is be proactive. You can if you need help with enrolling in classes, go ahead and look at what's available, see what's available. And then if you do want to come in, that makes our appointment that much shorter.
Yes.
As then we as advisors are not sitting with you going through every single class. If you come in kind of with an idea, what's available, we can help you much quicker. That could be a drop-in, really quick drop-in, or you can even email us and say, hey, I really want to be in these classes. They are still open. And we'll say, all right, great, you can enroll yourself, or if it needs a permission number or something, we give you the guide.
Right.
But I would say, if you want to avoid being in there, answer the emails we send you, be checking your emails, because we do send them quarterly.
Right.
And just be proactive.
Okay. So let's say I just missed the boat and I'm a central student, for example, and I just can't get into the class I want. What are my options? Can I go to one of the other campuses to take that class?
Yep. Yeah. You can absolutely take classes at other campuses. We call those interdistrict. You can, usually what we'll do is come talk to an advisor first if that's your goal, because we do need to set you up to be able to take classes there. We have to, it's called activate your record.
Okay.
Because they are still separate campuses. They are technically separate schools. So you are not a student at North if you've enrolled at Central.
Right.
So we need to do some background technical things to make sure that you are now a student at North as well. But yeah, that is very much encouraged, especially if it's a class that you really need. We would encourage that as an option for you at North or South. We also would encourage possibly looking at if there's another section available. We say, all right, maybe we put you in this section, maybe alter your other classes have to. There's always the self-paced if you are willing to do that. If you are, I would say, a very self-efficient person. If you are prone to procrastination, it's not the best class to have because there is no one holding you accountable.
Sure. It's self-paced. That probably doesn't count towards your in-person.
No, that counts just as basically the same as online.
Gotcha.
So I don't normally push for self-paced unless there's no other options, or I have a student that is just their best way to learn for themselves. That's how they like to learn.
Right.
Then I'll definitely encourage they go for that. But and then I also always encourage reaching out to the instructors and talking to the instructors. Get yourself on the wait list.
Right.
If you're, in the first, second, third position on the wait list, there's a good chance you get in. And if you don't get in by the first week, I always encourage to reach out to the instructor. Because a lot will say that's okay. And it never hurts to ask.
Right. Did they start getting stressed because they're like, oh, hey, I don't want to lose my status with my visa or my I-20 or whatever. So they start to get a little panicky.
Yeah. I'd say, we see a pattern when that does start to happen, when the panic starts to come in. We see a pattern of students shutting down then and not actually coming and talking to us.
Don't do that. Bad idea.
I understand. Sometimes when you're really stressed and you're really anxious, the last thing you want to do is confront what is making you anxious.
Right.
You kind of want to hide away from it. You don't want to think about it. But when that starts to happen, that is when you need to come see the advisor.
Right.
When you start to get really stressed about your classes, we are here to help ease that. We want to make sure you're okay, that you've got it, and know you're not alone in that.
For sure. So, okay, a student knows that they need to talk to you. This is going to be a real basic question, but people need to know this. How do they make an appointment to see you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. A lot of students don't know.
Right.
So we have two types of appointments. We have drop-ins. Drop-ins, you would see any advisor who's ever running it at that time. Drop-ins are for questions, that take 10-ish minutes to answer. Simple.
Maybe I just need a signature so I can go to Canada this weekend.
Yeah, or I have a question about one class, or hey, what is a transfer? Or what is OPT? Just just a very basic questions that don't require the advisor to really go super in depth into your records.
Gotcha.
And you just come into the office for that. We have in-person and we have virtual. Virtual, the link is in our advisor handbook. That's on the website. You can email your advisor. They can send it to you if you can't find it.
Okay.
But in-person is the most common that we do. We have them Monday through Thursdays. Virtual's on Fridays. Our office is closed on Fridays.
Yeah, don't
Please don't come
here,
on Fridays. And so, yeah, it's basic. But for appointments, so something that would take anywhere between a half hour to an hour length, we have what's called Starfish.
Yeah.
And when you get here, you are introduced to Starfish. You are showed how to use it. And we all have our office hours on there. And you need to make sure you're booking the appointment with your advisor.
Right.
If we get a request from a student who is not our advisee, we will deny it.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we only see our advisees because that's all we have time for.
Right.
So that is just through Starfish. You're taught when you get here how to access it. It's very user-friendly. It's very easy to use.
It's on the web.
If it is an emergency, because sometimes our Starfish appointments get booked out pretty far in advance.
Okay.
Depending on the time of the quarter. But a lot of us advisors will, we understand that emergencies happen. Sometimes you really need to speak with us right away, whether it's an academic emergency, an immigration emergency, or a personal one. We will usually say, all right, I've got some time here. Or I will always say, send me your availability. And when I say that, I mean, send me the entire time you're free. Don't send me one time.
Sure, yeah.
Send me at least 5 different times. So that I can look at my schedule and I can say, I have an hour free at this time. Come on in.
Cool.
I'll talk to you.
Right. Can they do that virtual advising before they even leave their home country?
Yeah. I mean, usually I'd say, if they have very specific questions about a program, I'm not going to turn them off from the drop-in advising or anything like that. If I have a student contacting me who would be my advisee and they're just asking kind of general questions, I would actually direct them to the outreach people and team, because that's more your wheelhouse.
Right.
Yeah.
And we can help. Yeah, exactly. We can help you guys out with those kinds of things. And if we don't know the answer, we'll find out for you.
But if you have some immigration questions or something like that, absolutely contact us. We can help you with that.
Cool. And what email would they send their questions to? Would they be the specific advisor, or is there a more general?
Yeah, I would say start with the INTL Central at Seattle Colleges.
And if you're a North student, it'd be INTL North, INTL South. So, yeah.
Yep, that is our office email, and then those will be forwarded to the appropriate office once it's received.
Cool. Well, I know we got to wrap this up really fast, but did you hear that? It's trivia time. So we have some questions we're going to ask you. Oh, okay. We could actually visit for hours. There's so many things I have on here to ask, but we'll maybe encourage one of your other advisors to come on the show, and then we can continue asking these questions. So much great information. Question number 1: if you get all these right, you'll be on the Wall of Fame. Oh, God. Now you have kind of an interesting background, so I have special questions for you.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Question number 1: Crete was the center of Europe's most ancient civilization. What is the name of that civilization?
The Minoan.
Woo! I knew you would get that right. Nice job. Okay, this one's a little tougher, but I know that in 2015 you worked as a tasting room assistant, so this one might go back to that.
Did you look at my resume?
What do you call someone with expertise in the science and study of wine production?
A sommelier?
Well,
wine
not
production?
exactly.
I know the tasting. I don't know production, though.
Okay. It's an enologist. E-N-O-logist.
I never would have gotten that.
I didn't know, so don't feel too bad.
I specialize in tasting.
You just like to taste it. Sommelier is a good word, so that's a good word. All right, number three. Who was Ireland's first president? That's a history question and an Ireland question. These are tough. Oh my God. Ireland's first president.
No idea.
Douglas Hyde, back in 1938 to 45. So yeah, there you go.
Oh, good to know. I'm gonna remember that for if I get trivia on that again.
This one should be a little easier for you. My last name is Karwand. Who is my advisor?
Me. No, sorry. Wait. Like, who would be my advisor?
Yeah, because your last name ends with a K.
Oh, it would be M. Wright.
Yes! Congratulations. And last one, since you're so well traveled and you have a lot of international background, what's your favorite foreign film?
My favorite foreign film. Oh my goodness, that's a great question. It is not a very well-known film. It's from, I think, the 60s.
Oh.
It is an Italian film, and it is based off of the Decameron.
Oh, yeah.
And they took different stories from the Decameron and basically made them into scenes of the movie. And I think it's really funny. It's really entertaining to see. And that's one of my favorite books in history. So I love that movie.
And the title?
It's called the Decameron.
Oh, it's called the Decameron. There you go. Check that out, guys. Tough question. Sorry about that.
Yeah, wow.
You have kind of an interesting background. I also learned that you were the executive assistant to a CEO at one time. That's kind of a cool, interesting.
Yeah.
How'd you like that?
Didn't last long.
Fair enough. Yeah. But I don't know too many people who've done that kind of work before. So that's
we tried a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
A little bit of everything at some points.
That's what we do, right? Mm-hmm. Well, so great to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
I didn't ask her any questions about OPT because soon I'll be interviewing Shun, who's an OPT expert.
Yeah,
so that's why I stayed away from those questions.
He's the one to talk to.
So stay tuned for that episode. But otherwise, great information today. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And you guys come back every Wednesday for other episodes of Conversations With. We interview faculty, staff, students. Would love to have you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great week. Bye-bye. Conversations With is painstakingly crafted for you by the Seattle College's International Programs Department and supported by the lovely folks here on our campus. This show is produced and edited by me, Evan Franulovich. We welcome your emails and questions about coming to Seattle Colleges. Please reach out to us via our website or just give us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, as this helps others discover the show. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or YouTube at Seattle Colleges INTL. That's Seattle Colleges INTL. And be sure to check out all of the shows here on Conversations With. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.